Hey, Love Your Life fam. It's Crystal and Andre Holland.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, looking forward to hearing from you. So to find us, you can check us out on
Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Stitcher. We look forward to hearing from you all.
Yeah, we came a long way, and that's what the song say. And I can do all things. I can do all things. Yeah, I can do all things. Yeah,
Hey, Love Your Life family. Welcome back to another podcast about loving your life. It's your sis, Crystal.
What is going on, fam? It's your boy Andre. We're back at you for another time of discussion
About loving your life. How you doing, baby?
I'm doing well, babe, for sure. Taking it one day at a time. Definitely making sure that I personally stay motivated, stay encouraged. There are some particular things that I know I'm going to be doing to make sure that I really keep the right frame of mind, but also to just really focus on specific goals that I have. So for sure, being intentional about taking care of the things that I need to take care of for me, for my family, but even for the things that I'm called to, my spheres of influence. So I'm doing well, babe, and obviously just like everyone else, making sure that, I have positive outlets, you know what I'm saying, to deal with the frustration, anger, and everything else that comes along with just living, you know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So yeah, I know there's a long answer, but yeah.
No, it's all good.
But what's up with you, girl? How you doing?
Doing pretty good. It was a productive day. I don't like folding laundry, but I'm thankful for laundry because that means I have a family, and so.
And I'm thankful for you because I hate folding laundry too. I can wash all day, but I do not like to fold.
Oh my gosh. So there's a lot of that. And then, just great conversations today. Had a couple of meetings. It was rich, productive conversations that I just love to just learn from other people. And I just love it. So that was a highlight of mine today. And so now I'm here with my boo. He had a good day, and I get to look at you and converse.
That's right, girl. We can converse. You know what I'm saying? And then we can look at each other now and later for sure as well.
Yes, sir. And so, so what do you want to talk about today?
You know what? Let's really dig into this giving up versus tapping out. And, the reason why I say this is because, I was just thinking about, just life in general, how much has just changed in the course of a few months. Meaning, the economy was shut down. People were, who are accustomed to going into the office or whatever. A lot of them just pivoted, began working from home. There's so many different, all aspects of life, for the most part, were impacted as a result of COVID-19. And, and then we, in the midst of, all the racial tension and a lot of the protests, which I'm all for protests, that are going on now. But I really want to focus on just the giving up versus tapping out, because I do believe and know that there are people that are in a wrestle or in a struggle, you know what I'm saying, and
Absolutely.
Trying to kind of navigate what to do. And so for us, I want to stress before we kind of really get into it, babe, one of the things that we said long ago, we're not called to try to make people do anything or to try to control people's lives. We're called, and this is part of our life's calling. Obviously, this is our service. One way that we serve our service unto the Lord. It's just really, not only reading about the word, but living the word to the best of our knowledge. And when we fall short, confessing our sins, repent, look to do better, and move forward. And so for us, this conversation, again, is, I want to stress, is not in an effort to try to take someone's decision or the power to choose.
Right.
This is going to be key. And I want to stress this. And baby, I know we've had numerous conversations. Oftentimes people will look to other people to make their decision for them.
Right.
And I want to stress, as an adult, we've all been given a beautiful mind and, gifts, talents, and abilities, and the right to choose. This is a part of our free will that we were born with, created with. And so when you become an adult, do not ever allow someone to take away your power to choose, because that is your choice. Okay. So as we talk about this, babe, I really want to get into giving up versus tapping out, with the goal of helping people raise questions that they can reflect on so that they can make the decision of what they need to do.
I concur with you. You know, it's definitely a hard situation to be in because, like you said, a lot of times there's so many circumstances outside of us that are influencing
Right.
the choice. And so really being able to look at yourself and what's going to be best for your life, your family, who you're responsible for, and how your life is directly impacting others. So it starts with you and really being able to say, okay, is this a giving up issue? Is this truly, hey, I just need to tap out and rest, or tap out, go a different direction? You know, and making the decision that is predicated upon what's going to be healthy for you and your family. Number one, bottom line, no gray areas. No, like my husband said, nobody gets to tell you what to do.
Right.
As an adult.
For sure. I mean, that look, at the end of the day, you have the power to choose. So that's good. You know, and we want to stick to that.
Right.
We don't want to just talk about it. We want to obviously be examples of it. So again, anytime that we're having conversations, we're definitely going to give you our opinion if you ask us, or our thoughts and perspective. But we respect people's opinion and their viewpoint, and even the decision that they make, because
Right.
we're not called to try to influence or make someone do something. We're truly called to share information, and what people do with it is truly up to them.
Right.
So for sure, man, I kind of want to unpack this a little bit. Giving up versus tapping out. What would you say was the difference between giving up and tapping out? You know, kind of go there a little bit, share what your thoughts are on that.
This, to me, to some degree, is a complex topic because I don't think that giving up is necessarily a bad thing all the time, depending on what it is. So it's not an absolute. So let me be clear there, number one. But I think giving up is letting go of something that is damaging you.
Okay. So giving up is letting go. All right, for sure.
Right.
Okay.
And knowing like, this isn't good for me, I just need to let it go. And versus, I have to do this because somebody said I couldn't do it. So you're like doing it for the wrong reasons.
Somebody said you couldn't do it, or they expect you to do it.
Right.
Even though you're really not in it, you don't feel like you should be doing it, or you don't want to do it.
Right.
You know.
And so
So for sure, okay.
what's motivating you is not healthy. Bottom line, what's driving you isn't healthy. And so it's not something that you enjoy. You have to wake up 2 hours to pump yourself up just to go and do it. You know, that whatever that looks like for you. And those circumstances, knowing like, hey, I need to let this go, versus being so focused on, oh, this is not going to be able to run without me. And if it's an organization, that organization has a responsibility to hire people to be able to help so that you can pass the baton, so that you can take a vacation, you know, whatever that looks like. And so if you are not the CEO or running an organization, that's not something that you have to stress over. And so misplaced focus, bottom line, is what I'm trying to get to, where the focus is misplaced. And again, making a decision that's not predicated upon what's healthy for you versus somebody else.
Right. And so, okay, good.
So for giving up.
So giving up.
Yeah.
And then for tapping out, I would say for sure it's just that it's allowing yourself the ability to say, you know what, I need to take a break. I need to rest for a time, or I need to do something else and come back to it.
Can you give an example?
So an example, let's say, for instance, you are, I think a huge one, a lot of people rent to their place of employment. Okay. I learned long ago, some years ago, where on my place of employment, I was trying to, and it wasn't intentional. I wasn't trying to be controlling. I just was so worried about burning other people out that I was not allowing people to grow and to grow in their capabilities and abilities, because I was doing everything for them or seeking to do a lot. And so I had to learn to tap out and stop trying to do everything for everyone and allow people the time that's needed to develop their own strengths and skill sets. And so one way I tapped out is to release some of the control and begin to trust and empower people that I worked with and people that work for me. And so that helped me tap out, because then I could go focus on other things.
Right.
Okay. So I think tapping out is just like giving up. It can be, multiple examples and a variety of kind of definitions. Tapping out, just again, time to rest and do something else while allowing someone else to continue that work. Okay, and it could be just for a season. It doesn't mean it's forever, but you owe it to yourself. Part of loving your life, we stress this, is taking care of your life, yourself, and not in a selfish standpoint, but making sure that you put a priority on the life that you live. You've been given one life. We have one life here.
Yeah.
And all too often, because of false obligations and guilt and shame and traumatic experiences we've gone through and what people think we ought to do, all too often we put other people's lives, or we value them over our lives. Now, most people are not going to tell you, hey, I value your life more than I value mine. They're not going to say that. Most people really probably are not even realizing that that's the way they're living when they're smack dab in the middle of it. But when you begin to look at their life or analyze their life, and you see that it's good enough for them, but it won't be for themselves, but it's not acceptable to give that same thing to someone else.
Right.
You know, if it's easier for you to buy nice things for someone else, but you want to spend that much money on something nice for yourself, that's a small way that you're putting more value on someone else's life than yours. Now, listen, it's one thing if you're not interested in something that's expensive, but if you can drop $200, $300, $500, whatever you think is a lot of money on someone else, but when it comes to buying something for yourself, you're fearful to spend money, you hesitate. Well, that shows that in that aspect of money, someone else is more valuable to you.
Right.
Okay, so again, tapping out goes back to knowing when you need to rest, take a break, take care of yourself, versus continuing doing the same thing over and over again, even though it's detrimental to you.
So let's make this a little bit more tangible. Let's look at the family unit. You know, for some of our listeners, they're married. For some, you are
single with kids,
right?
Single, no kids. I mean, all over the gamut.
Right. So we're cognizant of that. And so being able to look within our relationships. So if you have a child that there is a redundant issue that keeps surfacing and it's not being resolved, you're taking different approaches. Do you give up on your child? What does that look like?
Right. Well, and again, and I want to stress this because I know some people, when we say giving up, this is not a pass to quit when things get difficult.
Exactly.
And I want to clarify that because I can see someone, well, what do you mean? Every time something gets difficult, you give up? No, that's not what we're saying.
Right.
This is not a pass. Let me stress this. This is not giving someone the permission or co-signing saying that when things get difficult, you should quit. That is not what we're saying. But I do want to stress this, that sometimes we make the mistake of holding on to something at the cost of our health, at the cost of it hurting us for the sake of doing what someone else wants us to do. And so it is wisdom to know when you need to give up or release some things.
Right.
Let go of some things because it's detrimental to your life, the one life that you've been given.
That's really good.
Okay, and so when we say give up, really release, letting some things go. And it's wisdom to know when you need to let some things go, because I've seen people, they will bend over backwards for other people at the expense of their health, their financial stability, at the expense of their own children, their home, their loved ones, for all sorts of reasons. Giving of themselves when it's costing them their family, their livelihood,
right,
their health. And at the end of the day, even if you're being manipulated, well, you still have the power to choose. Mm-hmm. And so in this particular case, if that's you, you're allowing your power to make a decision. You're choosing to stay. And so I want to stress that. But again, that's for someone, I want to clarify that. So giving up or letting go. And when we talk about when it's time to give up or let go, at the end of the day, it's your decision. But I would encourage people to truly look at whatever you're doing. I don't care if it's your organizations you're affiliated with, your career, your loved ones, different things that you're doing, just take some time to reflect and truly examine, you know,
Oh yeah, definitely.
being a part of it. Is it costing you more than it's, you know, costing someone else? And are you paying the brunt of you know, the pain and the suffering and the anguish, and other people are benefiting from it?
All right. You know, and I want to really unpack if you're a parent dealing with a child that you're exhausted, you feel like there's nothing that you're doing. When it comes to parenting, when it comes to marriage, when it comes to these relationships, vested relationships, knowing when to tap out versus give up. Now, I'm not talking about abuse now.
Right.
I'm specifically dealing with there's a reoccurring issue. You have applied some tools that are not working, and you find yourself now going into an unhealthy place mentally. And so knowing when to tap out and pass the baton is what we're referring to. Being able to know when to, I need help, asking for help.
So when you say tap out, it's just that, asking for help, meaning I've done all that I know to do, and so now I need to go get some help. I need to go get some more tools.
Right.
So you tap out for the sake of getting help, so that you can try different approaches or different things that you may have not considered and tried.
Right.
Yeah.
And just being aware of that tapping out, looking for getting help does not mean that you've given up on your child. Especially because it can feel that way, because in our minds we can resolve that I couldn't help my kid, you know, and we weren't created to know everything. That's why we need each other. We all need our tribe, those that are in the midst of us that are resourceful, they're reliable, they're consistent, and they're safe.
So what I hear you say tapping out is basically saying, in this particular example, I've done all I know to do, and I'm going to go get some help so someone can help me with this issue. I just want to reiterate, that's
Right.
okay, perfect.
Right.
Good.
That you're not giving up on your child.
Right. Now, but let me say this, you know, and especially for parents and, you know, for grown children,
Let's talk about it.
because I need to say this. Now, listen, when you're grown, at the end of the day, as a parent, we should always continue to love our children, do things that they do right or wrong. You know, you're still gonna love your child, but at the same time, don't be a hostage to grown children's foolishness in your home.
Well, how grown?
Well, like I said, grown is grown. If you grown enough to be completely rebellious, like, you know, you 18, well, I'm gonna tell you how I grew up. All right. You know, when we were teenagers, we got to a point where we didn't want to listen, and we were that wasn't us. But my parents made it clear, if you want to be rebellious, if you don't want to follow the rules of this household, you can go elsewhere.
Right.
And so at the end of the day, because I've seen parents, well, I love him, I love her, and kids is just, you know, grown kids, or even teenagers, just running the roost, doing what they want to do, not doing their part for the family, you know, disrespectful, talking to the parents. I mean, just completely rebellious.
Right.
And so again, look, okay, now y'all can do what you want to do, but at the end of the day, me and mine, so I want to stress too, you know, setting some healthy parameters, because especially if your child grown and living with you and doing whatever they want to do and talking to you in any old kind of way, you keep saying, well, I need to be there for them. Sometimes people need to fall on their face before they realize people who are in their life that is truly trying to help them. It's not something you wish on someone. It's not something you want someone to go through. But don't be a doormat to your loved ones, or anybody for that matter.
Well, and I think too, when you're dealing with an adult child legally, not psychologically, but legal adult, I think education is powerful. I think that there has been so many habits and traditions passed down that parents have failed to educate their kids on what is going on with them psychologically at 18, even though the law says that you are legally grown, but psychologically, you are not mature until you have reached 25, 26 years old. I mean, that part of the brain doesn't even finish developing where you can make a logical decision. And that's why we see historically so much reckless behavior in college, you know, in those college years. And not really being.
True, for some high school.
Well,
years,
yeah,
junior high.
definitely, because it's premature. It's not fully developed, and so parents, I encourage you to do your own research,
Right.
and to educate yourself, and then educate your children on why there is wisdom in the counsel of many. Until they can continue to grasp these tools. And then understanding they are going to make mistakes. They are going to make dumb decisions. It's part of life. We did it. All of us have done it. But at the same time, it can be a reoccurring issue that keeps surfacing because you're not educating yourself on, and I get it. I love science. And so I like going and looking because I want my kids to understand, our kids to understand what's going on with their bodies, what's going on with their minds. And then it helps me as a mother, to be able to mother with realistic expectations. And that's huge. And so that when you're ready, when you feel like giving up, it's like, oh, this is just a tap out.
Right.
Right? And so education is powerful. And so being able to be okay with not knowing everything and then going getting the help that you need through literature, through research, and then those that are resourceful and reliable people that you would allow to be in that space with your children.
Right. And that wisdom, that getting educated piece is huge, because when we look at, giving up versus tapping out and how that ties into loving your life.
Yes.
I would encourage everyone, when you're looking at giving up versus tapping out, and we say giving up, being able to let go of some things. Sometimes you need to let go because it's costing your life, your health. Okay? So I would encourage you, getting educated piece that you mentioned. I would encourage you, when you're looking at giving up versus tapping out, ask yourself these 3 points. Or just meditate on the fact that it takes wisdom to know the difference between giving up and tapping out. Okay, meaning, are you letting go of something, giving it up, or are you just taking a break, tapping out? Okay, so it takes wisdom to know what you need to do. Give up / let go, or tap out, meaning take a break, or do it in a different manner. It takes wisdom to know when to tap out.
Right.
And vice versa. The other end of that, it takes wisdom to know when to give up or when to let go. And so if you find yourself in a situation or situations where you don't know what to do, spend some time really reflecting. You talked about getting educated, talking to those that are older, more mature, and even it could be younger people that's more mature, but talking to people with a level of maturity. Obviously for us, we spend time specifically in prayer when we're kind of at a not sure exactly which direction to go. I mean, obviously, we believe in God, so for us, we saturate, everything in prayer as well.
Right.
So I would encourage you to do that, and then take time to really reflect on it, and then make your decision. Again, I said make your decision.
Right.
Okay, and this is why it is so imperative, and why I'm stressing this part, because oftentimes, again, people manipulate people's emotions. They manipulate, their thoughts. They try to manipulate their actions, and they do it by many different ways. It may be trying to guilt you into doing something, trying to shame you into doing something, trying to find fault in what you're doing and make you do it their way. There's a host of reasons why master manipulators, or a host of ways that they manipulate people.
Right.
But I'm going to stress, part of loving your life is being able to put a premium on your life and not get fooled by the okie doke.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And this is huge because, again, love your life. You get one life.
Yeah.
Don't live it out of the lens of someone else's eyes or someone else's desires or someone else's wants or wishes for you. You have the power to choose.
Can I interject here
Yeah,
for just a
what's
second? So with this whole giving up and tapping out, I want you guys to think about something. You all have your own individual stories and journeys and habits that you've developed over life, that if you developed a unhealthy or a bad habit as a child, a preteen, teen, young adult, you're in your 30s, 40s, 50s now, and you've never taken the time to confront them, but you see how these patterns have led you down paths that were not good for you, right? And so I think one thing that we fail to realize as adults is that a lot of times we are working with people that are they're still stuck in their adolescent years mentally. And so there's so many things that are undealt with because people have felt like they just haven't had the space to deal with it, or they're afraid to deal with it. There's people and very painful things that they need to confront. And people that are not doing their work can be very toxic individuals. Mm-hmm. And so with that in mind is really good if you are on the other hand of somebody, on the other side of somebody's toxic behavior, being able to recognize it for what it is versus taking it personal, like it's your issue, like you're the one that's not doing anything right, and knowing when to say, you know what? I need to let this go because this individual, they're not healthy. They're really bad for me to be around versus what am I doing wrong? Because that toxic individual will probably be a professional gaslighter, meaning they won't take responsibility for their behavior, and everything that goes wrong, they're going to point the problem back to you, where there's nothing that you can ever do that's right or to please them, and they will never, hear me clear, never take responsibility until it's like it's either a miracle or something happens, like my husband said, they fall on their face and it's like, oh my gosh, you know, I have to confront this. And so just being mindful that when you're in an environment and you see there's toxic people around, that you use wisdom to not internalize it, that you're always the problem.
Well, but I think, you know, you just really hit it. Because at the end of the day, we all fall short.
Right.
Right? I mean, we all make mistakes. We all mess up. We all miss the mark. Therefore, we should all be able to say, my bad. Right. I messed up. I'm sorry. I repent. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, you were right. But again, that you just hit the nail on the head. If someone that you're working with, they're never wrong. And it's always someone else's problem. Again, make your choice.
Right.
But you know, you got to ask yourself, is it time to let go?
Right.
Or is it time to tap out? You know what I'm saying? The decision is yours.
And being able to say, you know what, I'm going to love my life.
Well, for sure. You know what I'm saying? I mean, again, and we're so passionate because this is, you know, part of loving your life, really empowering people to put a premium on the value that they bring.
Right.
You know, we are all beautifully, wonderfully made and gifted. And there's so much more. And just, I want to say this too. Just imagine how much you're sitting on when you're not moving towards purpose. Just imagine how much is wasted. Mm-hmm. You know, that's like having a key full of riches, or a locked room full of riches that you can't tap into or access because you're sitting on what you're called to move out on. And so there is an economic cost to procrastinating when you need to move. I want you to understand that. Sometimes we're crying at the God for help, and he looking at us like, look, okay, well, you choosing to stay, thereby you're locking down your own finances.
Well, unpack that a little bit. Like people that are sitting and waiting for God to tell them to leave.
Because God made it clear. You choose.
Free will.
You know, free will. If you like being abused, if you like being belittled, if you like whatever it is, okay? And when I say like, no, again, that's kind of, you know, a rhetorical question. I'm asking, no one really likes being abused but if you stay and nothing changes, I want you to understand that behavior is showing that it's acceptable or it's okay. And also, so I would encourage, oftentimes we cry out for help, or we cry out, God, I want more of this, more of that. And from God's perspective, a lot of the times, I'm not saying, I'm giving you one lens, but there are things that God put in us, and he's waiting on us to do our part so he can do his. And so if you choose, just like if you choose to sit and bury your gifts and not do anything with it, but complaining that you don't have no return on your money, well, of course not. You didn't do nothing with it.
Well, and also back to the rhetorical question that you asked, do you like this or do you like that, something that's causing you pain? Also, knowing that depending on what shapes you may be conditioned to it. And so if you're in an environment that's toxic and that's all you've ever known, being mindful of reasoning your way reasoning yourself into why you need to stay. Oh, that's how my dad used to talk to me.
Yeah.
Oh, that's how
No, that's
so-and-so
good. That's good.
used to talk to me. And that's just your norm.
Your norm.
And not understanding that you're in a toxic, abusive environment that is keeping you from tapping into the treasure that's within you.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. That's a very good point. And I want to stress too, all of this can really, even when you look at giving up versus tapping out, I said it before, using wisdom to know when, to know what the difference is, but then to know when, what course of action you need to take. Mm-hmm. But it really speaks to the importance of applying critical thinking skills, being able to, to identify the objective and analyze and evaluate what's going on. Truly being able to, critically look into the situation and think about all that's going on and happening. Oftentimes, we live in a world that's just fast-paced. One of the things of COVID-19, we said it before, it really forced us to kind of be still in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And it afforded us the opportunity to spend time just really reflecting and thinking about things that are going well, but areas that we may need to pivot and shift and do differently. And so it's very important. Make time to critically analyze what's going on in your life. Is this effective for your life? Is this working? Is there a better way? Should you be doing something more of this or less of that? That is the importance, because all of these things, when you sit and take time to critically think about and analyze your decisions you're making in your life and what's going right and what's going wrong, and meaning what you need to do maybe differently, when you spend time critically thinking about it, mm-hmm. it gives you the ability to pivot when necessary. Versus if you're constantly going, you're not taking the time to reflect. You're not taking time to really think and analyze what is the impact that what I'm doing is having on my family. What is the financial impact? What is the impact on my health? What is the impact on, my most important relationships?
Right.
For myself, it's obviously my relationship with God, my relationship with my wife, my relationship with my children. So that these are priorities. These are my premium relationships. But if I'm constantly going and doing, I'm not taking time to realize how what I'm doing is how it is impacting or affecting my family. And so it's important, you owe it to yourself, love your life enough, slow down, take some time to critically analyze and determine, do you need to give up or let go, mm-hmm. or tap out versus take a break and do something else. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I want to be clear with this comment I'm getting ready to make. The pandemic, that's one of the things that I say the stopping, the pausing afforded us. The pause, the stop, to slow down. And I'm not talking about people becoming sick and you losing loved ones.
Right.
There's no benefit in that. That's right. Very painful. So that's what I want to be clear on. But the pausing, the stopping, the reflecting, being forced to look at your life, it really helps you to analyze. It's helped businesses to analyze how to redo some things, how to accommodate families better. And
this is definitely not trying to take away from businesses that were closed. But
right.
Because that's the other end of the spectrum too.
Right. So this is just a balanced approach. Being able to, in the midst of something that's hard, that's a struggle, find the benefits. What is the benefit in this? And so some companies have had to give up some viewpoints and some approaches when it comes to employees. Husbands have had to look at different things they've had to give up, tap out. Wives the same, kids the same. And so, like I said, being able to find the benefits in circumstances that don't feel good, knowing when to give up versus tap out.
Yeah, so it's been real, man. And listen, part of loving your life, taking time to critically analyze what's going on in your life, make the necessary adjustments to take care of you. You owe it to yourself. You only have one life to live. So again, take some time. Make the right choice. Baby, tell them where they can check us out at.
Check us out on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, and Stitcher. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode. We love you.
Shout to the city that raised me. Shout to the people that made me. I'm from the 80s. I don't think mumbling wavy. I grew up black on a Jay-Z. Maybe I'm crazy. I ain't been wondering lately. Feel like it's there for the taking. Feel like I'm good with the changes. Know who I am. And that's the most dangerous state.
Hey, Love Your Life fam. It's Crystal and Andre Holland.
What's up, everybody?
Hey, looking forward to hearing from you. So to find us, you can check us out on
Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and Stitcher. We look forward to hearing from you all.